Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome along Monday night, 8 p.m, episode 104 of the Online Darts Live Lounge with me, Phill, Jack Garwood, and Lee Boyce. Gentlemen, good evening.
Hello.
Evening.
How are we all?
I'm tired, to be fair. One of them weeks.
It's been a long week, I'll give you that.
Yes.
Plenty going on in the darting world. As always, never a dull moment, is there?
Never. And joined by someone shortly who never provides a dull moment as well. So always good.
And I spent most of the day with him as it is. Yeah, Mace is joining us.
Yeah, I'm surprised the pair are not bored of each other after spending the mornings together.
To be fair, we had a good laugh, to be fair. It was tidy. Welcome along, chat room one and all. Tommy is in. Jack, Owen, Alex, Kieran, James, Daniel, of course, Big Johnny is in. Yankee Clipper, Owen, Darts is in. Anthony is in. Bob. There we go. Evening, Max. How are we all doing? Pete is in. Good weekend for you, my friend. And Bob is in as well. Yeah, boys, look, it's been a moment. Premier Leagues, Pro Tour is back, Euro Tour qualifiers. It's all go, go, go.
Yeah, it's what the players want, isn't it? Especially the Pro Tours and Euro Tour qualifiers back. A lot of darts now back on the scene and all ready for the first Euro Tour coming up shortly. Obviously, like UK Open before that, but did see some Pro Tours and some indifferent performances.
Yeah, when you say all the pros want it, I'm not sure that's entirely true.
Okay. Minus some who have already been playing since the second week of January.
Yeah, look, it's been a busy time for them.
For some of them,
yeah.
Not all of them.
My first reaction is I think I prefer the Euro Tour qualifiers on the Friday instead of the Monday.
Yes. Easy, much easier to keep track of. Monday's our day of not do a lot. Now there's 2 Euro Tour qualifiers. Like, oh, bloody hell.
Yeah, it was tough, but we got there. We're going to go in some kind of chronological order. I say try, but again, everyone through the chat room, come and get involved. Yes, honestly, Mace is absolutely bang on it. If our comms cam had have gone live, everyone knows at the Super Series there is a camera in the commentary room just in case that we have to fill or pan. Me and Chris, like true global experts, we commentated with professionalism throughout. Microphone in one hand, cheering in the other every time Richie Burnett won a leg. And then when he won it, we're both giving it big licks.
No bias here at all.
How are we doing? Danny, look, the Euro Tour needs Richie Burnett. Let's not beat around the bush. The Euro Tour is a better place with Richie Burnett on it.
I'll be honest. I think the Euro Tour is crazy enough.
I suppose one thing, though, has anyone even checked, has Richie Burnett got a passport? That would be more my worry.
It's not America. I think he'll be fine.
He's still got to try and get out, isn't he? How we doing? Josh is in as well. Yeah, we'll come on to the Euro Tour qualifiers shortly. I think this should have loaded up by now. Yes, it has. So we'll start. We're going to go back to Glasgow chat room as well. First of all, before we dive into the action, your first thoughts and opinions on Glasgow before we look at the action.
Horrid city. Get rid of it. Oh, you mean the night? Oh, right. Silly place where they talk funny. No.
Are you trying to offend all of them?
Yeah, it's just every week, mate. Every week. You wait till I get to Nottingham. It was just all right again, wasn't it? I think we're going to say that about every week. It's just all right. Like, atmosphere was decent for Peter Wright.
See, did that come across on TV? Because in the venue, I was disappointed with it. I thought...
It was all right pre-game, but then he just fell behind, didn't he? There was a bit more booing for Dimitri than perhaps we expected. He's not the golden boy of Scottish darts that maybe a Gary Anderson is, that perhaps would have got that slightly better reception.
Well, that's the thing, that I thought because Gary wasn't there, it may have been a bit louder and they may have got behind him a little bit more, but it was just lacking something because he wasn't there.
That was always going to be the case without Gary Anderson. That's a detrimental effect of Gary not being at any tournament, and then that multiplies when it's Scotland. So no real surprise that the atmosphere wasn't as good as what we've seen for Gary Anderson. But I'm with Dob. I thought he came across all right. It's just his performance obviously didn't help him step behind Peter.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a second. We'll put the little graphic up now of how it went down. First of all, the Nathan Aspinall MVG game, it was a very strange game. The first 5 legs, let's not beat around the bush. MVG was crap. And then got it back to 5-5 and then went crap again. It was strange.
I think the biggest surprise is what we've seen from Michael over the past 6 months, if 9 months. This level of performance wasn't expected, which was probably the biggest surprise. And then it comes back around, as you mentioned. He got himself back in the game, and then you expect him to sort of find that last leg, and he just didn't find that extra deer. And Aspinall took it, but I think if MVG stepped it up one other deer, I think the result would have been the other way around.
Yeah, it was just it was strange.
Flat. Yeah, a bit flat.
Yeah, it was just really, really weird. Then Dimitri van den Berg against Peter Wright. Look, Peter Wright didn't play badly here, by the way. He's averaged 98 and lost 6-4. But the elephant in the room, how much more watchable has Dimitri van den Berg been the last couple of weeks?
Jack, you're on mute. Have you muted him already?
I have no idea what's going on.
It's because all that Premier League positivity was oozing out here, mate. Phill must have muted.
Because we're going to be nice to Dimitri. It's like, no, don't do that.
How much more watchable is he playing that way? It's like
massively.
night and day.
Massively. I'm not sure about the smiling and laughing back at your opponent, but the rest of it is very, very good.
Yeah, it's just makes such a difference.
And he's getting results from it as well. And hopefully that's the thing he takes away. Look, semi-final first night, beaten first round second night, all the way to the final third night. Like, is he going to be that much better slowing people down? I don't think so.
No, he's been so good playing this way.
Yeah.
Then, again, as a game, this next one was a little bit shit. And it was the one chance Michael Smith gave the Phill to beat him. Spoiler alert, and couldn't. Michael Smith beats Going Price 6-3, 91 and 89 averages, respectively, Boise. It wasn't great, and as expected, Gezi got powers.
Yeah, it was sort of the high of last week. He just ultimately come back down to earth back to sort of normal with the, like you said, the crowd sort of behaviour. We was questioning last Monday who was Scotland than a Sport, England or Wales, and it came across that it was more for Smith than it was for Price. But it was a disappointing performance by both, and Smith just done a professional job. Is probably the way to sum it up. He just done enough to out of the line, but not really pushed it all by Price. Who then the Premier League just doesn't seem to suit Price. And yes, he's already done and won one of the nights already in only 3 of the openings we've saw. But generally, his Premier League performances haven't been great.
No, I agree. And then the Ferret back to somewhere near his best gob. 102 average, 6-1 win over Chris Dobie. Chris is average a ton himself. Not done a lot wrong, but Johnny won all the big moments.
Oh, every single opportunity was just snuffed out by Johnny. His scoring was ridiculous. His 140s, that's the key to Johnny Clayton's game, is his 140 hitting, and they were definitely there for everybody to see. Double 16 at the end of his finger, basically, once again. He's loving that corner of the board. It'd gone a bit iffy for him just before Christmas, but no, he looks so much more solid right now. And the thing for Johnny Clayton now is turning these performances into wins.
Yeah. Because,
look, we've just been straight past Peter Wright. Someone said earlier, it helps that Peter Wright's not playing very well. Actually, he's averaged 103, 97 and 98 in his opening rounds, and he's still without a win in the Premier League. I think he's playing very well. He's just not getting results, and Johnny Clayton is sort of in that realm as well. We'll take that first win on the board and get settled, and now he can build his campaign.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's the general consensus, Pete, as well, from a lot of people on social. No doubt, we'll come on to that shortly.
Well, I've got a talking point on that as well, so yeah.
Semi-finals. Dimitri van den Berg was sensational in beating Nathan Aspinall. 105, 7-3 average. Super stuff from Dimitri. No need to go into that one. It was fairly straightforward. Then Michael Smith, a last leg decider against Johnny Clayton. This was a damn good game. Again, Johnny averaging almost a ton. Michael Smith just over 101. Good game to end the semi-finals.
Yeah, the quality we expect, and that's to Dobbs' point of how well Johnny's playing. He didn't do a fat lot run there, did he really? Just come up against a very good Michael Smith and improved Michael Smith from the quarterfinal. And it was just down to Smith finishing at the end that was sufficient enough to get him over the line. But there is a lot of positives from Johnny Clayton, I think. His game seems to be getting back to what we saw in 2021. And I think it won't be long until we see him win a Premier League night.
Yeah, and then into the final, it was just an absolute stunning performance from Michael Smith, averaging over 109. And Dimitri did well to get it to 6-4. Dimitri played well in this final, but look, Bully Boy was just sensational in the final.
To be honest, I'm surprised it took him this long. He was the form player heading into this Premier League. Look, Michael Van Gogh keeps starting these nights as favourite, but before the start of the Premier League, Smith had lost something like 3 games since the back end of the Players' Championships or something ridiculous. He was on an absolute ridiculous roll. So, yeah, look, not surprised that Michael Smith's gone on to pick one up. Cheeky little dig in his post-match press conference. And now he's up and running as well. And look, he's another who traditionally the Premier League hasn't been the happiest of hunting grounds for him. You look at him and Gerwin Price and Peter Wright, who have all the talent in the world, but haven't really put it together in the Premier League. But this looks like it could be the year that Michael Smith does so.
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered to crop the horrible picture of them pointing at the place they've won. But we have got 2 clips. Funny you should say that. We've got 3, sorry. We've got 2 Peter clips because I did them as 2 separates for socials. First of all, we'll play the Michael Smith one and that little dig and talking about winning in Gary Anderson's backyard.
I don't do statements. That's for Peter Wright, Van Gogh and Gerwin Price. I only come here to compete and play darts. They can do all the talking. I just do my job. I just get on with my day. I think everyone here knows me, what I do. I just keep to myself and just practice away and don't speak to many people and get on with it. So, yeah, I owe a lot to Gary, especially when he took over me at a young age and he helped me out massively. And I'd never ever have a bad word to say against the guy. I think he's done interviews with everyone where he said this kid will win multiple. He'll win this, he'll win that, and finally done it. Now he showed belief in me when was that? 2010, I think, when I signed for him. And yeah, he's to win in Glasgow, winning Gary Anderson's back garden. It feels good.
I don't make statements and then proceeds to make one. I love Smithy. Gob, you're on mute again.
Do we expect anything else from a dart player?
It was good though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The only time they don't do it is sometimes they'll say, we're not going to make any statements, and then they'll just go to social media and do it anyway. So they always make them.
Yeah, it was good. Last time he had to wait until the very end. This time he's up and running. Right, we've got two clips from Peter Wright, which are interesting because he talks about that extra pressure, and I'll come on to a point that he made in a minute, which still baffles me a little bit.
Thanks. I just anger, to be honest. Yeah. Just want to wreck the joint. Is that right? Can I do that after this?
And the support. I mean.
I would just obviously the fans give me a lovely welcome and everything and stuff like that, and I just feel like I let them down, and that's the main thing. And when you come and play like for your country and in your home ground and everything like that, it's not nice to lose. So yeah, it's difficult to deal with. Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I was expecting to come here and win, and I'm gutted. I just let them. I was in charge of the match, and then it's missing 6 starts or double. If I didn't miss the 6 starts, I maybe could have won it and changed the flight system in the next game. But ifs and buts, don't win games.
Playing here in Scotland, is there nerves or is it just extra pressure on your shoulders?
Yeah, it's extra pressure, of course. The only person, the only Scotsman in the field. Obviously, we normally have Gary here. He's the ambassador of Scotland and everything like that. So it's hard to replace Gary, in his shoes and everything stuff like that. So I'm gutted. I'm gutted for Scotland, gutted for myself.
The interesting bit about the pressure of trying to fill Gary Anderson's shoes, coming from a double world champion, a world match play champion, and everything like that. I found that one a little bit interesting.
Do you know what I found interesting? Even on the year where Gary Anderson doesn't get picked for the Premier League, we're still spending an awful lot of time talking about Gary Anderson. Michael Smith spoke about Gary Anderson. Peter Wright is speaking about Gary Anderson. We're going to talk about Euro Tours soon. We're going to talk about Gary Anderson. Like, what on earth is going on?
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is strange to say. I understand his point in regards to Gary Anderson has been sort of the forefront of all Scottish fans for, 15, 20 years, if not longer. However, Peter Wright's done his own thing, as you said, multiple world champion, match play. He's been there before. It's not like it's the first time in playing in Scotland. If anything, if that's what he was thinking beforehand, he's just added unnecessary pressure onto himself, which has then had an impact on his performance, which is a bit strange. But I am with Dob. I don't think he's playing too bad at the minute.
No,
however, the Premier League can be brutal in regards to, yes, I know we talked about the negatives of it, but from a performance-wise, his tournament average so far is probably going to be around the 97, 98 mark, and not to win a game. It just says it all.
We've seen that before, haven't we? The year that Kim Huybrechts made the Premier League, he played unbelievably for like 8-9 legs every single night. And then the back end of matches, 6-4, 6-5, 6-3. It's just the performance has been very, very good. He's just not getting wins. I think Yella played that season, struggled similarly. Mensah was similar. His performances weren't terrible. He had about a 95, 96 tournament average the year that he played in the Premier League. He struggled to pick up wins as well. Your floor game isn't enough here. Your 95 average, 30% on the doubles isn't enough in the Premier League because these are the best players in the world.
In big brackets.
21 there, yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm going to put this up. Not that anyone can make any head nor tail of it, but we do have a table.
Really?
And it's very congested.
Is it needed now? Is it needed after night 3?
Potentially. Look, it's nice to take stock of it. The thing that you will take away from this is Peter Wright and Johnny Clayton could be cut adrift very, very quickly if they don't start picking up wins.
Yeah.
And they have to start looking at not just first round wins, all right? They're good to get on the board, but if everybody else keeps going semi-finals and finals and rotating that, they're going to have to start going deeper and deeper. They're already on the back foot by only having one win between them in 6 attempts, basically.
I guess do that, looking at the fixtures coming up. Night 5 is when they meet.
Yeah.
That could be crucial. If anything, if they both lose next week, that's more crucial for Peter.
If Michael Smith beats Peter Wright next week and rolls into week 5 against Johnny, still winless, ahead of the UK Open that weekend as well, that's massive.
Yeah, and Peter Wright on -8 leg difference is a concern as well. Because we've said, although he is playing well, -8 could be a hard turnaround because there aren't many hammerings. Yes, we've had the odd 6-1 and things like that, but there's been a lot of tight games as well. So to make those legs up could be tricky.
Yeah, but you can go back to 0 on a night. Look, he's lost 6-3, 6-3, 6-4. It's not beyond the rounds. It goes and wins a night like that, and that's your 8 legs back.
Yeah. Evening, Preston. How are we doing, G Adventures? Hope you are all good. Remember, everyone, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe. But that's there. Gob, I know you want to say something on off Pete's point of no longer a must-watch each week.
Yes. And it's just crap. Hear me out, right? Week 3 was last week, and it was on Sky Sports Mix. Demoted to the worst Sky Sports channel out there. The viewing figures for week 1 were released the other week. 200,000 people watched on a Thursday night. That's week 1. Right? To put that into some sort of context, admittedly, over 8 sessions, the seniors did 1.2 million views in 4 days. This is allegedly the PDC and Sky's second most watched televised tournament. I think that's just an accumulation of 17 weeks worth of numbers now. They are not treating it like the all singing, all dancing premier event that they've tried to tell us it is for the last 10 years.
But this comes back to the point that we said that for the past, not last year, but the previous 5-6 years before that, it was geared more for the fan watching at home, and we saw fans in the venue leaving early, where now it's gone completely the other way, where genuinely fans are now staying right until the end because they get to see a winner, but you're losing the audience at home. Somehow, it's too late for this year, but going into next year's Premier League, there has to be some kind of middle ground where it suits both the fan watching at home and the fan in the venue.
I guess the interesting part to see would be if the fans stay until the end or not is better for the atmosphere in the arena. But from a sales perspective, have we seen anything different from a sales we've had, from the numbers Dobbs just said, we've had an impact on the TV viewers. Have we had a difference in sales? Has that increased because we've now got a competition each night, or?
I was chatting to one of the PDC boys, and Premier League ticket sales are up on last year.
The previous year? Do you know?
I don't know the previous year, but certainly on last year, the sales are up.
That would be the comparison, wouldn't it, in the previous years before last year, because we're now into a competition. But yeah, I'm with Dob. It's disappointing to see that it's been demoted to Sky Sports. To me, it's disappointing for the sport that there's not as many viewers at home. But hopefully, and I say hopefully, it's still a change for next year. And more so, I think, because the standard of players that we've got, there's more than 8 that I want to see. And I think plenty of others want to see.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that throughout the weekend as well, performances on Pro Tours and whatever else. At the same time, the same thing that happened last year. They've almost overdone their own product by making us see these matchups so often. The beauty of the Premier League in its basic straight-up league format, way back before contenders or whatever, was that you might see Phill Taylor play Barney 3 times in a season, and 2 of those would be in the Premier League if they survived relegation. We've already seen Dimitri versus Van Gogh twice in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and one of the it is completely geared for the fan and the venue last year and this year. So yeah, there has to be some kind of middle area that suits both. And at the moment, I think it's completely miles apart. And look, I get everyone's point, especially Gobbs, where he's like, Premier League's too long and X, Y, and Z. I understand that. But if you cut the Premier League short, you have to find a lot of income to prop the rest of the tour up. Because we all know the money the Premier League generates is massive. So if you half it, there's a huge hole in the budget.
Which I completely understand. Look, I'm not naive to that fact. But my point is that if they don't cut it or they don't do something with it relatively soon, they're going to lose it altogether. You're going to switch so many fans off from it. Look, the ticket sales and that don't suggest it, but it is just getting boring.
And I'll tell you what, this is a great time to do this, because we were chatting about this today, and as if by magic, the one and only Mr. Chris Mason. Mace, how are we doing?
I'm very well. Evening, chaps. Evening, chaps.
Yeah. Obviously, I could see you in the background there, and you were nodding and things like that about this Premier League discussion. That it's gone from one extreme to the other, where it suited the fan at home, and now it's the fan in the venue. And as a fan yourself, what is the answer?
Yeah, I went last year to Sheffield as a fan and absolutely loved it and enjoyed it. Didn't particularly enjoy watching at home. I think it's quite one-dimensional. We see too many matches that are the same, and it's repetitive over and over again. Not saying I was what's right or what's wrong. I quite like my idea of having 12 players in it. Week 1, it's the top 4 in the world are the 4 seeds. The 8 play each other. The winners make the quarter-final, and you continue on like that with a rolling ranking system where the then top 4 after week 1 get the buy-in to the quarter-final. I think it would create far more variables of games, and I think it would be much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I still think there has to be, like you said, some kind of fear of relegation after a certain time as well, not being involved for the whole tournament, where at the moment these 8 are comfortable knowing they've got 16 weeks on TV. There has to be some kind of chop that the players fear.
And you would do that after week 10. The bottom 4 in effectively what would be the Premier League order of merit would be dropped out. You return to the 8 for the final 6 weeks or whatever, and that's that. I just think it would create more variety, and I think that's the main problem. People are seeing the same games over and over. And remember, the game's very channeled to the elite, so we see a lot of these guys playing each other a lot anyway, outside of the Premier League. So, and it would eliminate this whole issue of who should be in, who shouldn't be in. Maybe you could, bring in some quite random players into a field of 12. But I don't think there's a right or wrong solution. They obviously spend fortunes on research and development and data and analytics and feedback from fans, and they think this works. I think it does from a live gate, but definitely not as a punter sat on his sofa. I get quite bored with it quite quickly.
Yeah, no, completely agree. But we've obviously been talking about the Premier League so far, Mace. It's been interesting. Peter Wright without a win, but playing well and things like this. Johnny Clayton regaining some momentum as well. MVG stuttering a little bit. It's been an interesting start.
Yeah, I think Peter and Michael are in a similar place right now, but I think they're both lacking a bit of confidence at key moments. They've neither have a lot to be particularly confident about right now, and especially Michael over the last. I know he's won tournaments, but in between he's looked vulnerable again. I think Peter is just, again, we've seen him say, "I'm sticking to these darts." Yet last Thursday, out came the Euro grip ones, the gold ones, which I think are the the best ones for him. Really been impressed with Dovey. I was a little bit fearful whether he was being thrown in a little bit at the deep end, but listen, he's won a week already. I thought Michael Smith last week was irresistible all the way through and the right winner. You know, like I say, early doors it's been exciting, but I certainly won't be going out of my way for the remainder of it. And that's quite sad. Listen, I love this sport, but I certainly won't be prioritising it in my life on a Thursday night. Not that I've got much else to do when I'm down here in Portsmouth.
I'll tell you what is an interesting one before I let the boys jump in as well. Everyone in the chat room loving your ideas, mate, and everything like that. And there's a couple saying, "Oh, why isn't he employed by the PDC?" Da, da, da. Some news that you are going to do some comms on the Euro Tour this year.
Yeah, I've been given an opportunity and asked to sort of pick one that I want to do. So I'm going to do the Dutch Darts Open, which I'm super excited about. Going to be working with Dan Dawson and the other boys, and I love the Euro Tour. It's outside of the mainstay of TV darts, and I love the Euro Tour. I love seeing new players. I love seeing new players on stage and potentially new stars of our sport. And there's no better place to find them than the Euro Tour. So yeah, I'm buzzing for that.
Well deserved, mate. Well deserved. Does that mean you're officially now just a commentator once again? Like
no, I'm still absolutely spewing about the seniors, and that surprises me. I thought I'd just sort of take it on the chin and go, that's what it is. But even a few days later, I was still still in my thoughts, and I was still thinking, what did I do wrong? I mean, I got everything wrong, to be honest. I planned to have the month off, and then I was down at Stratford doing the Bahrain event, which meant a day driving into London, do the event, drive back. Then I was back to Wales, and then I had to drive all the way back to do Copenhagen again from the studios in Stratford, and then just no competitive darts. Yes, I was practicing and just looking. As you know, I had a throw with you on the Wednesday night when I was waiting to do some media. Got on stage, felt super confident. I had no match preparation, and then going in on the Thursday morning. Normally, I'd find someone and just go through a series of practice routines, whether it would be a couple of 1-2-1 to 170 routines, some doubling stuff, and then a best of 31, 201, just to get some competitive feel and see how uncomfortable or comfortable I was. There was none of that there, and although I was the first one in, the 3.5 hours literally went in what felt like a blink of an eye. So I've already planned. I'm doing the senior events either side of the match play and doing the event obviously down in Yeovil. But I'll be actually taking my practice partners with me, and I'm more than up for trying to right the wrongs. And just super disappointed, and just never got comfortable. And in fairness to Terry Jenkins, what we'd seen of him in sort of the month, maybe 6 weeks going into it, he was playing darts nothing like what he produced against me. And halfway through, I was sort of, here we go again. Even at this level, someone's playing absolutely out of their boots against me. But credit to Terry, he played a wonderful match. It was thoroughly enjoyable to be involved in. I really got a lot of time and respect for Terry. And an enjoyable match, but just a disappointing ending.
Are you surprised how much it has affected you and given you that bit between the teeth? Like, we spoke before you debuted in Portsmouth, before you played the Super Series. You've tried to play it down pretty much at every opportunity, but actually the way you've just spoken about it then in quite depth is almost as if you feels like you're back as a player, not a full-time pro, but that's back to your playing days, those emotions, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm more than prepared to put the hours in. I was a little bit, not going to blame it on, but I was a little ill beforehand. I had something come up on my hand that we didn't know what it was. For all of you squeamish people, apologies, but I ended up with a big hole in my hand. Ended up with some kind of immune system problem, and I just didn't feel great. But I also didn't think I'd be as emotionally invested in it. But having been the first on, and I stayed there throughout, I wanted to show my support to both Jason's and all of you lot that work on it. It hurt, and I wanted, watching the watching the latter stage of it, I wanted to be part of it, and that tells me one thing, that there's still a little bit of, it may be not necessarily a fire, it's just a bit of smoke in there somewhere. But yeah, I will be back.
Good to hear, mate.
One question that's coming, mate, is, I know we're still in the early stages of the seniors, but what new events would you like to see added to the seniors tour in the future?
But listen, I understand they're in a bit of a predicament. They rely on a lot of the famous names and historically the big draws in our sport. But I do, having getting feedback off of players, they worry about the ranking system and how you qualify. They worry about the fact that there's players there knocking out other players once they've already qualified. It's a little bit disjointed. That's for me is the main concern for me, because I hear from a lot of players they're sort of feeling like, what's the point if it's not fair? And I think once they get to a situation where I want to see Phill Taylor show his commitment and turn up at tour events. We've seen it from Robert Thornton. I get to as many as I can. We see commitment from a lot of them. I want to see more commitment from the players to show that they're part of this dream. I think once that's in place and they say, look, it's the top 24 in the rankings, and then we'll have 8 qualifiers for each event. I think that's the way forward. The ones that can accommodate that amount of players. I think we've already seen the improvement this year in the Worlds by having more of the players that are currently active and committed to the sport still, even though they're over 50. And that's the only way forward for the seniors. They'll get away with it for now for a couple of years, but a lot of the players that are spending a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort, they'll say, what's the point? And we can't be having that.
One thing that I would like in the seniors, because most of you guys played it in your career as well, I'd love a pairs event.
Yeah, I think they've got a great opportunity as well. And Jason Francis and Jason Tame obviously have been involved in the sport for many, many years, either side, whether it be snooker or darts or promotions and that kind of thing. And unlike the PDC, which has to be quite formatted and they have certain things they got to follow, broadcasters want something different. The fact that Channel 5's taking the next event, the big one in Blackpool, I think that shows a great insight by them. And if you approach one of these broadcasters, so yeah, it's a darts event, but it's something different. A world pairs would be legendary, and whether you do it out of a hat or you do it via manufacturers, you'd have to come up with a quite a slick system of picking the combinations. But yeah, wouldn't it be unbelievable to bring something like that back? And I think it'd be great because it's very serious. But what I noticed from being there, the crowd were proper darts fans, and they were enjoying the atmosphere and the environment of sitting down and being able to watch some. Yeah, it's not 110 averages, but it wasn't back in the day. It's more about being part of an event, and that's something already that you can see taking place in the senior stuff. But I thought it was a brilliant event. I thought the broadcast quality improved. Certainly the standard of play improved, and when you've got players like Leonard Gates, who I think lit the place up, I thought it was a revelation. There's plenty of them out there, I can assure you, who are over 50 and who would love to get out there and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, Pete says a bit of a pro-am during the weekend as well. I quite like that idea. A bit like Augusta, where you started with the par 3. Maybe you start one of the tournaments with a bit of a pro-am. We have you mic'd up as well, so we can hear what's being said and things like that.
Right.
To send that one to YouTube instead of Channel 5.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be getting away with that. The dump button would be constantly getting pressed. Yeah, I mean, this is the beauty of the seniors. There's plenty of options available. I think the people involved are creative. You got you guys involved, so you get that sort of younger look on it. You've got Jason who's been there and seen it and done it. I think there's a great combination of people involved, and And listen, there's plenty more to make it even better than it is. That's the exciting thing. At the moment, it's just a little acorn, but you know what acorns turn into? They turn into great big oak trees. And I think that's where the seniors is going. It's never going to be a rival in terms of money, because right now that money isn't there to throw at it commercially. But all the players want, I think, and you can see, look at the commitment from Richard Thornton. This is a guy that potentially could have gone and got his scorecard back, but he remained committed to the seniors. What did he make in the last 12 months? Over £70,000. All credit. Yeah, all credit to him. That just shows you what's available. You got to remember the spin-offs from that as well is sponsorship deals, more exhibitions, more person appearances. It just doesn't end there for Robert Thornton. And you talk to him now, and the guy is literally on his tiptoes. He's loving it. He's absolutely. And another thing, the trophies are on a different level.
They are the best selection of trophies in the world, and I won't have any other word against it. Like, we had all 4 on the stage at one point being photographed together. I've got some of the best snaps of them all in. They are magnificent.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with David Cameron and his partner over the weekend, and we went out for dinner and that, and then we sat on there was a little players table available, and we sat on there, and Jason Francis brought it over, and I was just literally, I'd love to get my hands on that. It is absolutely, it's the only thing that will rival the original, and that's the biggest compliment I can give it. It is absolutely stunning.
That World Championship trophy, I had to carry it upstairs for Launton's interviews at the end of Sunday. I'm like, this is not what I need at the end of the weekend. But that
no, you need a lift.
Week to that as well. I think he was a little bit better prepared to lift it this year.
Yeah, you need a lift to get out there, but yeah, it's beautiful. Everything there. Listen, there's obviously some early teething problems, but in any new business, there's always going to be that. But ultimately, they're both good listeners, and everybody involved wants the same thing to happen, and that's for it to be a success. And that's only a good thing for any new brand. I think it's super exciting. Is it whether I do anything in it or not? That's irrelevant. Whether I was playing in it or not, I'd still be saying the same things. I think it's a credit to everybody involved, and how they've embraced to be a success. You've not only, the pats on the back are lovely, but you've got to embrace the criticism as long as it's coming from the right people.
I'm up for this idea as well. The Seniors Desert Classic.
I'm definitely up.
Anywhere else. We're not taking Manly anywhere else.
I'm definitely up for that. Yeah, 100%. Count me in.
Yeah, I'm certainly up for that. Obviously, that's the Seniors, mate. Going back to the darts, the Pro Tour is back in action as well, and it's been some good starts. Simon Whitlock, a man that looked dead and buried yet again, he's found a way to reignite himself. He's back in contention for the match play and the Grand Prix after sliding down those rankings. Yeah,
him and Beaton are quite defiant, aren't they? I've been impressed. Also, been impressed with Ian White, who's been on free for what it feels like for a year or so. He started to produce some really good stuff over the weekend. Darryl Gurley and Brendan Dolan making it 4 out of 4 from Euro Tour qualification as well. Also impressive. Look, Barneveld's been putting in some good numbers as well. It's been good. I do love the Pro Tour. I've got a soft spot for it. Again, it's another one of those things I really enjoy the coverage and the opportunity to watch the players in their optimum environment. That's what's key. If you want to see where a player's ceiling is, you watch them in that environment, and that's where you know the ones that have potential to go on and do amazing things. But great to see Kim Ibret. So if I told you once in the last 12 months, I probably told you 100 times he will win a Pro Tour. Well, it took a little bit longer than I thought, but great to see him back on the podium, and great to see Ryan Searle, because he's another player that looks like he's been struggling for a while. Good to see him pick up a title as well. It's not a live lounge, right? Getting your take on Gary Anderson as well. That fire has been didn't win games this weekend, but like we've said previously, you can't keep playing that well and not win games. No, very much. That's why I kept mentioning about Kim Ibret. He was getting beat 6-4, 6-5, 6-5, 6-4, and in the key periods of the game, still in big numbers, and And again, Gary's one of them. He's got one of them sort of infectious type games. Once he starts winning, he'll get on streaks. And listen, we've seen enough already to know that the fire burns very bright in Gary Anderson's heart and mind for this sport. And again, it's only a matter of time. But, you know, we're seeing it from Barney. It just showing that last year's win on the Pro Tour and that run at the Grand Slam was far from a flash in the pan. He's playing some really, really solid stuff. And he's going to be a danger in all events. He may not have that massive 110, 112 average in the locker. What he has is bags of experience. And on those big stages, they count for everything.
And of course, last one before we let you go, UK Open on the horizon, return to Minehead. Excited?
Yeah, I love it. It's outside of the match play. One of my favourite events. It's got a real old school feel about it. I love seeing the lesser players involved again with the opportunity to play on the big stages. I love the multi-board, that buzz of the multi-board area, and just seeing the expression and the smile on players' faces when they're getting an opportunity to play in, which is now a real historic event. You know, this goes all the way back to the Bolton days and goes all the way back to the days of where it was played in multiple different clubs and all the winners used to congregate on one pub on a Sunday afternoon. It feels like a long time ago, that. But, yeah, I love the UK Open. There's always some great stories in there. There's always a Barry Lynn somewhere in there. And, yeah, I can't wait.
Speaking of Barry Lynn, where do you see the future of the amateur qualifiers coming in? Riley's isn't in the best state as a business that it has been in the last 20 years or so. But for me, the UK Open has to have that element of your bin man from the local can rock up and win a qualifier and be in the UK Open the following week. Otherwise, it's not an Open, is it? Which is, look, that might just be a picky thing with a name, but that tournament needs that element, despite the fact we've got Challenge Tour qualifiers and Dev Tour qualifiers and all the like. Where do you see the future of those sort of players coming from?
Yeah, the Rileys are atrocious. The qualifying conditions are atrocious. The time the players are expected to stay in there. Listen, there's a ready-made formula for the PDC to have a little collaboration. The Super Series are already working with the ADC. It's simple. You get the ADC to pitch up 8 weekends, job done. They've got the equipment. They've got the know-how. They've got the technology. They've got the people in place to do it. Listen, you should not be going into a venue at 9 o'clock in the morning and playing at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. That's not the ethos of the PDC, whether it be amateur or pro. I don't know what kind of money Riley's give them anyway in terms of sponsorship. I think there's more of a convenience thing, but in a whole now, the Riley's venues are unkept. They don't have the facilities to accommodate the amount of players there. And I'm amazed we know how fickle the PDC is. I'm amazed that they're still doing them.
Mate, just one more on the UK Open. Obviously we're a few weeks away, so I'm not going to ask you to sort of tip a winner. But from the names who we've got qualified this year, the likes of Tora Tadby, Luke Littler's done for a qualification. Who for you you're looking forward to see that weekend, and who do you think can have a long run?
It'd be interesting to see if Corey can make the trip. I'm not quite sure whether it's a logistic thing or a visa thing with him right now, and I can't have an opinion on that because I don't know. Whichever it is, I hope it's sorted and he can attend the event because it will be a better event for him in it. I was a little bit concerned about Josh Rock's form and his outside situation at the moment with regard to the whole management and sponsorship thing. But I thought he threw some good stuff over the weekend. Looked somewhere back to where he should be. It's hard to... The fact that he was actually so short price of the Worlds was mind-blowing anyway. So you're not going to get him at a big price, or maybe you will after the Worlds. I don't know. But it's one of those events that the big guns can't avoid each other. I mean, they can, but it's unlikely. So there's a great opportunity, like I say, for someone to come right out of the pack and surprise us all. I hope it's a Simon Whitlock or a Steve Beaton or one of the younger ones, and maybe a Josh Rock or a Gian Van Veen or one of the new players that have got cards. But It's one of those events because of the nature of the draw and the open draw, which I absolutely dread doing every year. It's always going to throw up a few surprises. And the Sunday, of course, it may be down to the younger generation who've got a little bit more stamina, let's put it that way, and have got a little bit more staying power, because that Sunday, that's what it's going to come down to. And put it this way, if MVG is in that Sunday, that's where my money would be going.
Mate, absolute pleasure to get you on, mate. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I bored you enough during the day today. And I will see you on Saturday as we go again, mate. Pleasure for your time.
We will do. Take care, everybody. Thanks for having me on. All the best.
Cheers, mate.
One and only Mr. Chris Mason, everyone. Legend and friend of the show. Patrick's there. Fancy Jim Williams for a good run. Hope you are good, my friend. He speaks a lot of sense, doesn't he? Could talk darts all day long with him. He just speaks sense.
It's like me. He's like an older, better looking, more experienced version of me. That's what he is.
Phill said he speaks sense. Did you not hear that bit?
But pleasure to have Mace on. Right, from there, we are going to go to the Pro Tours, because it was Players' Championship 3 and 4 as darts headed back to the Mecca. That is the Barnsley Metrodome, the only place where you get a pirate swimming pool and darts in the same place.
Yeah. I've still not been. I'm itching to go to Barnsley of all places.
Right, obviously, we're not going to go through every result. We're going to pick it up from sort of the last 16 area. Look, Richard Vinstra getting to the last 16. He's taken to PDC life very, very well. Been around the block a long, long time, and it's just nice to see him make the jump and being competitive in it. He got edged out by Jeremy Price.
I think
Adam Warner.
Vinstra, he was always going to do it, wasn't he? He's always been capable at this level. It was getting to this level. I think the minute Timo Trico is on the Pro Tour consistently as a tour card holder, you'll see exactly the same from him. They'll go on these little runs. They've got the ability. They've got the game to get there. Just getting through Q school is brutal.
Yeah.
You know, Phil, as you said, the showdown they'll buy without just mentioning Gary Anderson. I don't think the showdown's by without they'll mentioning one of the French pairs. It's normally doing a bit of French speaking as well. But it's mentioned every week.
He's like our Dale boy, isn't he?
Look, I'm just trying to get them into the World Cup, all right?
I
want commission, by the way. If the French team are in the World Cup this year, I want commission. I also then want them to draw England first round and get spanked, but I want them in there.
Gene Van Veen beat Johnny Clayton as well. That was a great game of darts. Josh Rock getting rid of Adam Warner. Adam Warner in his chino light-coloured trousers. They are brave for a dart player.
Very brave.
Done it all his life. All his life.
It don't mean he's not brave.
Because at some point, there are mischievous players that will come along and drop a drink in a certain place so he looks like an absolute tit when he's on the stream.
Yeah, but have you seen how well Adam's built? He'll knock you out. I want to mess with him.
But that's going to happen at some point. It was another last 16 for Jamie Hughes. Quarterfinals, Gowan Price beating Andrew Gilding 6-5. Kim Hybrex, what a weekend for him. He beat Josh Rock 6-5. Gabriel Clements got rid of Manas Razma. And Matt Campbell was into another semi-final. Kim Hybrex then beat Gowan Price. Gabriel Clements got rid of Matt Campbell. And we had Kim Hybrex against Gabriel Clements. It's Kim Hybrex's first Pro Tour title in near on 8 years, boys.
That's the biggest surprise with the talent that Tim's got, that it's been that long since he's won one. It shouldn't have been anywhere near that, but no one will argue the fact that it's good to see Tim back winning a Pro Tour. It's now been able to adapt his game to on the stage, as we've seen the levels he can reach on the stage as well. But we haven't seen that for a long time either. So this should be the confidence boost he needs to see an improved stage down. But I'd say the biggest surprise about him winning is the fact of how long it's been, not the fact that he's back winning.
Yeah, I'm just trying, before we move on to Players' Championship 4, I'm just trying to see, because Joe Cullen lost to Scott Waits with an absolute ridiculous game. He was hitting 180s for... There it is. It was in the last 64. Joe Cullen lost 6-4 with 108 average.
Tidy.
Yeah.
And he's better off than Scott Waits.
Yeah. I love the Pro Tour. Moving on, Players Championship 4, and this day was dominated by one man. He had one iffy performance, but the over-genius, Dirk van Dijvenbode, right now, everyone says that Chizzy's the biggest scorer in the world. I'm not having it. Dirk van Dijvenbode is the biggest 180 hitter in world darts now.
No.
No, factually, he is.
No.
Numbers-wise, he is, Gob.
No.
No.
No. I'm not having it.
I saw something along those lines in Dutch earlier, but I couldn't translate it, so I don't know what it said.
Yeah, Dirk is the biggest 180 hitter in the world.
Which is surprising because he still throws so many stupid first darts. If he finds the top of that treble bed, yeah, unbelievably. As a first dart merchant, there aren't many that are better.
Yeah, but if your first dart's going on the top of the treble 20 bed most of the time, then it's all right.
Yeah, but it's not. That's the bit I'm getting at. Or it feels like that whenever I watch Dirk. It still feels like he has a wider range of a mix. He still puts it in the 5, in the 1s. There's still... Look, for me, if you throw a dart straight but a little high or a little low, or you throw it at the right height and you're in treble 5s and treble 1s, you're only doing one thing wrong. You're either your line's wrong or you're pitching it wrong, right? Dirk seems to do both of those wrong more often than a lot of players. He misses high and wide in the 5 or the 1 more often than you see other players do it. And that's the concern for me. Look, his scoring power is absolutely ridiculous. Not arguing that. Just feels like his first dart, if he gets that right and turns it into straight 60s or straight tons or something he can work with, it'll be even better.
It is nuts. Trying to get the stats up for Players Championship 4. Where is he? I think he hit something like 35 180s yesterday. I saw as a stat.
2 secs. This is how well we research our show, folks.
Good research, Dob.
Yeah, it was just nuts how many he hit. Whilst Gob looks at that, we'll go again from the last 16 stage. Barry Keane getting to a last 16. Much needed run for...
35.
Yeah, that's what I said. 35 180s yesterday. That's insane.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous in one day.
So, factually, he is.
I knew that was coming.
Ryan Searle again, another good day. He beat Jeffrey Sparadans again. We were impressed with him from Q School, Gob, weren't we? He was consistent all the time, and he's had a good start to life as a PDC pro. Christoph Kachuk was unreal yesterday, taking out ton plus finishes for fun using Dimitri Vandenberg darts. Dave Chisel beat Josh Rock. Jim Williams beat Dimitri Vandenberg. Joe Cullen beat Barney. Bunting beat Whitlock. And then Dirk beat Johnny with 108 average. Quarter finals. This was Dirk's only wobble. Only averaged 89 as he beat Stephen Bunting in the last leg decider. Joe Cullen, 108 average to beat Jim Williams. Chizzy, 104 average to beat Christoph Kachuk. And Ryan Searle averaged 105 to beat Mike Ivanhoven. I think this was the weekend that the Pro Tour really took off. Consistently, we saw big averages again, which at times last year, even on the Pro Tour, we weren't seeing. 35 180s.
I like it.
Statistically, he's the biggest 180 hitter in the world.
In one day, he tied a record. That doesn't make him the biggest. What's his per day?
Across the season, last year, he was the biggest 180 hitter, and he is this year as well.
Hey, 180s are all the same size, mate. Forgot that was there. Thanks, Boise.
I love you.
Boy.
But yeah, last year we were a little bit critical that maybe some of those averages had disappeared, but it's certainly gone off again. We're seeing these big 100 and plus averages, 111s, 112s.
It's better. It's much better. And you can tell they've had a weekend to set themselves in again now, can't you? This weekend we're just seeing decent numbers from everybody. We're seeing form carried over. We're seeing some tough matches. We're seeing people pick up their first results. You've got to give a shout out to people like Adam Warner, who was possibly a little bit of a surprise to get a tour card. His top level game doesn't quite produce it as often as others, but is still battling away, getting results. Robert Owens, opening weekend, he played some brilliant darts. He didn't pick up a win. He's gone and made the last 32, picked up a Euro Tour qualification as well. It's just nice to see the chances for everybody else on the tour now, isn't it? We've had so long since the World Championships, and even including the World Championships, where all the focus is on that very, very top end of the game. We've had 2 World Series, 3 weeks of the Premier League, and a Masters now. And now we get to see the PDC, not the fanboys they roll out every week.
And I'll probably add to that as well that the amount of players that we had drop out at certain tournaments last year, we've just not seen that early on, which is good. Yes, there's a few. Expected that there'll be a few, and a lot of players have said that they'll drop out and they'll pick certain weekends. But if you've only got 3 or 4, maybe 5 dropouts, then it doesn't really have a massive impact on your 1 to 8 field. However, when we was down to stages last year, when it was down to 20, 30, even 40 in the Challenge Tour order of merit, then the standard is going to change slightly. So this is where we are going to see, as Mace alluded to, top level darts throughout.
Yeah, completely agree. And then we also had some Euro Tour qualifiers today. I'm not going to lie, I didn't see an awful lot of them. We were trying to keep our eye on them whilst we were commentating.
You was watching one person, you've already told us.
No, we're watching them in general as well. But for Euro Tour 3, which is Risa, the qualifiers were Andrew Gilding, Brendan Dolan, Jose de Souza, Daryl Gurney, Richie Burnett, Simon Whitlock, Kim Hybrex, Brian Roman, Lee Evans, Jose Justicia, Madas Rasma, Ross Smith, Mario Van Bogengarder, Stephen Burton, James Wilson, Ryan Meikle, Ian White, Alan Suter, Adrian Lewis, Matt Campbell, Callum Ridds, Pascal Reprech, Steve Lennon, and Keegan Brown. It's a nice little mix.
Yeah. There's not really a lot more to say. It is a nice little mix. You've got some new tour card holders in there, some old names, some people clinging on. You've got a few seeds getting through, a few seeds being knocked out brutally. Scott Williams losing on the last leg decider. Jim Williams 6-4 as well. Stephen Bunting not making it through, by the way. I think he lost in both events, did he not?
I think so, yeah.
96 and a 32. No Willie O'Connor either. Some big names missing out here as well, but that's the beauty of the Euro Tour. Chris Dobie beating an ET3.
Yeah, he was beaten by Graham Usher.
Yeah. Who then loses in ET4.
So that was ET3. ET4. How are we doing, Scotty? Hope you are good, mate. Andrew Gilding, Simon Whitlock, Robert Owens, Stack Attack on the European Tour. Jim Williams, Super Mario did the double. Jeffrey DeJuan, Chris Dobie, Ross Smith, Keane Barry, Jules Van Dongen, Ian White doing the double. Cameron Menzies is going to Munich. Scott Waite, Steve Beaton, Tony Martinez. That's a bit of a shock beating Ryan Joyce. Matt Campbell doing the double. Callum Ridds doing the double. Vincent van der Voort can get the bulldozer out because he's going to attack Munich. Adam Warner going to make a Euro Tour debut. Lee Evans, Brendan Dolan, Raymond Van Barneveld, Daryl Gurney, and Alan Sousa doing the double as well. Some tiny little conundrums going on within the Euro Tour.
Very nice start to the season.
So that was that. Also, over the weekend, I'm not going to lie, I didn't see any of it, but the Scottish Open was on. Listening very, very much mixed feedback from players in regard to the Scottish Open. Some saying it was good, others absolutely hammering in it and slating the organisation of it. Look, we weren't there. We're just going off what we see on social media. That I say some really loved it and others really hammered it.
Yeah,
I think they love the Saturday night festivities more than anything else by the looks of it.
that's what I've seen the most from socials and certain players was. Saturday night seemed a great night, but the tournament still seems like it needs some work on it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It is very, very a very mixed bag in relation to it. But I'm just going to get the results up.
Jordan Brooks and Dieter Hedman.
I know Jordan Brooks won it. And to be fair, I was impressed with Jordan Brooks at the Super Series when he got to the final as well. So that doesn't come as a great surprise that he's gone on and won something, because I thought he looked very good. He beat Martins, no brackets. I guess it's Wiggins in the final.
Not the Atkins.
Yeah. Richard North getting to a semi-final as well. Not got to the last 82 chuffed. Yeah, it was super stuff from there. Yeah, Dieter Hedman winning the ladies. Do we know why Bo didn't play this weekend? Because normally she plays in pretty much every WDF event. No, I didn't know if anyone's seen anything or
no.
Because normally she plays in all these.
Yeah, well, I had a look yesterday to see if anything was on socials anywhere, but I couldn't see anything as to why.
So that is that one. Also, we had a 9 darter in the DPA as that tour got underway. Good to see.
Did we? I know we had one of the Eurotour qualifier. Graham Hallett won. I knew Nordic and Baltic was back because Vladimir Anderson missed registration time the first day, and then second day had an absolutely brutal draw after saying he was going to focus on that over Pro Tours.
Yeah, after making such a big song and dance about it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stupid.
Mm-hmm. I think Kai Smith's qualified for the 2024 WDF Worlds already. Not at the 2023 edition.
To be fair, hilarious. Obviously, Yellow was at the Super Series today, and Mace was chatting to him. So he goes, "Have you qualified for this Worlds or next Worlds?" And Yellow was like, "I haven't got a clue."
That's your world number one.
Yeah. Players are absolutely bamboozled. It's funny.
I can't even remember. I think he's in this year's, isn't he?
I think so.
I feel like he is.
Did he not go to number one at the Dutch Open?
Did he win the Dutch Open?
No. Wesley Placier won the Dutch Open.
Correct.
That's the only thing I have kept track of all year is Placier won the Dutch Open because then he didn't get through Q school.
I don't know why I'm worried about it. If Yellow don't know, I don't need to know. So.
Yeah. Ryan Searle is a seed. He's in the top 16 of the Pro Tour. So he is seeded, didn't need to qualify.
He doesn't. But quite interestingly, if Gerwin Price doesn't make at least a final, I think it's in Riesa or Munich, he will drop out of the top 16 on the Euro Tour and will have to start going back to qualifiers. So this selective with the calendar might be starting to bite him in the backside already.
Yeah, but this is where it doesn't work. because of the Premier League and everything like this, it's if it's going to get that important, then Going Price will say, sod the Premier League. I've got no doubt about that whatsoever, because we all know he loves ranking events. And then there's an issue.
No, it's the perfect storm when players start saying, stuff your Premier League, it's too long and it takes away from the rest of the Euro Tour that you're trying to cram in at the same time of the year.
They'll just change the qualifying criteria. 100%. I keep telling you that they will not change the Premier League format because it's worth too much money.
And
But haven't they, I don't want to say helped the Premier League players, but the qualifiers being now on the Monday instead of the Friday allows the Premier League players to make it a lot easier to beat that qualifier than it would be being there for Friday at 2 o'clock. Yes, I know it then has a knock-on effect to the following week because you've got one less day at home before you travel then to your next venue on the Tuesday or Wednesday. But I think we'll see him at qualifiers. If he doesn't get to a final, let's not rise off there with Bryce.
He prefers the Euro Tour to the Premier League anyway.
Yeah.
He does. They don't boo him as much out there. They just boo anybody that isn't German. Macy won the Masters. Close enough. Got the wrong one on that as well. The one thing I did know is wrong.
Brilliant. So this week's Premier League, we go back to the Emerald Isle, boys. We're off to sunny Dublin.
I mean, you're a brave man saying we're going back to the Emerald Isle when one was Northern Ireland and one is normal Ireland within this, not normal, Republic of Ireland in the space of 4 weeks. But yeah.
Michael Smith against Peter Wright, Going Price against Dimitri Vandenberg, Johnny Clayton against Nathan Aspinall, Chris Dobie against Michael Van Gerwen. Yes, we've ripped the Wikipedia one because there was no graphic.
Do I need to predict the finalist and the winner then, like I did last week? Or yeah, I'm sure not.
So, chat room, get involved as well. I would like winners in the quarter final. So, first up, Smith against Wright.
Peter Wright.
Brave.
I'm playing like this, not win.
0-4 for Sneaky, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm going Michael Smith as well. What are you saying, chat room? Balance it up. A lot of love for Michael Smith. So, game number 2, Gerwin Price against Dimitri Vandenberg. I'm going Dimitri. After what we've seen, I think right now Dimitri Vandenberg is playing better darts than Gerwin Price.
I think all 7 in the Premier League are playing better than Price. So I'm then Dimmy as well.
Well, I'm going Price.
Problem is, I've got a right Dimmy semi-final then, and that's just a rematch of what we saw last week.
Sure.
Yeah. Johnny Clayton against Nathan Aspinall.
Team Clayton.
Yeah, I'm going the Ferret as well.
Oh dear, we've doomed him. We've doomed the Ferret this week in Ireland. I agree. I think right now Johnny is playing consistently better than Nathan. We've seen Nathan have some huge highs, like the 2 105s in a row, but I think consistently Johnny is playing very well right now. Clayton, some Price. Clayton 6-4. Aspinall, the Asp, Clayton, Aspinall. This one's quite split. The bottom one, Chris Dobie against Michael van Gerwen. Remember, they met in the final of week 1 in Belfast. It was Hollywood who came out on top. Can he do it again?
Revenge. MVG.
Yeah, Van Gerwen.
Yeah, I agree as well. So from there, I would like your winner and your runner-up, please, gentlemen, and chat room.
I think we have our 4th different winner. I'm going for Peter Wright to lose to Michael van Gerwen in the final.
You saying, Gob?
I'm saying Snakey loses the final, but it's to Johnny Clayton.
I am going Michael Smith loses in the final to Johnny Clayton. I think the Ferret's on the verge of doing something very good again. After what we saw last week and in the Pro Tours, I think he's genuinely on the verge of doing something very good.
Yeah.
Your favourite times keep going week after week and not win one. MVG's time is coming very soon. I just think it's this week.
They play each other too often to cause a scene because they'll be playing each other next week and then the week after, then they'll be travelling together to a Euro Tour on the same flight and sit together at a Pro Tour, and it just isn't worth the angst. That's what's happened to it. They play each other all too regularly. And do you know how we spend all the last year telling Peter Wright, oh, stop mouthing off because it'll bite you on the arse? Well, everybody else has realised if you go mouthing off or causing trouble, it bites you on the arse. You play each other far too often nowadays to be able to run your mouth about it for 3 months. The following week, they'll have you 7-0 in a race to 6.
To be fair,
never feels like Monday.
Nothing will beat last year's World Grand Prix. That was just sensational. So there we have our Premier League predictions, boys. Week in darts. What else? We're bound to have missed something.
We've had the final list of our UK Open qualifiers.
Yeah.
Somewhere. I sent it in the group, didn't I, Annie?
I say you put it in the group earlier, so.
Yeah, I know. See, I did a little bit of research. So the 16 are Thomas Bance, Brett Claydon, Gary Davey, Noel Grant, Louis Sterney, Harry Lane, Danny Laby, Daniel Lee, Luke Littler, Callum Lewis, Jim Mostyn, Darryl Pilgrim, Dan Reed, James Richardson, Stuart White, and Jonathan Wynne is the 16 players who will be competing at Minehead in 2 weeks. A week on Friday.
Yes.
Which I can't wait for.
Yeah.
Johnny Maxson! Hey!
There he is. It's been a while. How we doing? How we doing, buddy? When are you getting your ass down to Portsmouth?
Yes. We need the Punisher.
The draw, well, it's normally Wednesday, maybe Thursday.
They've done all the Home Nation and the thingy qualifiers now, haven't they? They've done them all in advance. Home Nation, Associate, Nordic and Baltic, they're all done.
Doesn't mean we get it any earlier.
No. The big transfer news.
Oi, oi. The Punisher's coming to Pompey. Fan of that. Huge fan. It's been way too long, Shawnee Mac.
Been to Portsmouth yet?
No, he didn't play at all last year in Southampton either because of work commitments. It's like he's been out of a long-term injury, making a comeback.
There's a song in there somewhere.
What, long-term injury?
No, don't call it a comeback.
Speaking of comebacks, everyone noticed that our theme tune is back on Instagram now.
Moving on.
Rihanna sung it at the Super Bowl. It's fine.
2 multiplied by 10 plus 1. Romeo done.
What's up, boys? You do realise there's an audio version of Lucas. You click the GIF.
Did I?
Yeah.
I just saw it for the first. I just
would actually shout and lucky at Phill like this.
I like it. He's not.
I like it.
Big fan of that.
Prize money increases as well for the Euro Tour and the UK Open were announced.
Is that
Very
back-to-back
good.
years with Euro Tour increases?
I think so, yeah. But I'm obviously a fan that the prize money has been increased. I'm not a fan of where the money has gone in these increases.
Top end again.
Top end, it's too top heavy again. Let me.
Doesn't it need to be though?
What? Top heavy or?
Yeah. There's got to be reward, hasn't there?
Yeah, but
There hasn't though. We're only one more prize money increase away from the Euro Tour. A single Euro Tour event being worth more than the WDF Worlds.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right comparison to make for obvious reasons.
Where are we this week? We're in Germany, aren't we? We're in Kiel. There we are. So, Euro Tour money now is 30 for the winner, 12 for the runner-up, 8-5 semi-finalists, 6 for quarter-finalists, 4,000 for third round, 2,500 for second round losers, and 1,250 for first round losers. And for me, that first round losers had to be at least 1,500 because of the cost of travel. At the moment, it is extortionate travel costs. Which is why I think the money had to be more at the lower end.
We say that about every increase at the minute, though, don't we? And it's just not happening. The positive news is that for the first time ever, players that reach the second round of the UK Open will get prize money.
Yeah, prize money from the 128.
Which is very good. Much needed. Yeah. You could play 2 rounds of the Riley's Open qualifier and get nothing. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah, 128 winners get 1,000 now.
That's definitely a step in the right direction. I get your point around the travel costs, but you've also got to be conscious of making sure you're rewarding your winners, aren't you? So it's always going to be top heavy.
Yeah, but I just think, again, that just makes the rich richer in terms of rankings.
A Euro Tour 30 grand, it's not.
I think 25 was enough. Same as when they increased the Pro Tour from 12 to 10. That didn't need to happen. 10 was enough, and that 2 should have been spread better lower down.
I'm not opposed to the Euro Tour one.
We don't pay for travel when we go anywhere. We put it on Barzi's business account, so it don't matter.
I just think, though, that
travel costs can have gone up all they want, mate. Not paid for anything in a while.
I just think for the players that are on 50-50 deals and stuff like that, it's not great. And everyone will go, well, they shouldn't sign a 50-50 deal. Likelihood is there are a lot of players, if they don't sign that 50-50 deal, they're not going to be able to play professional darts. Yeah. So it's chicken and egg.
Yes.
To be fair, the highlight of the travel was last year when I get a message saying your flight home from Amsterdam has been cancelled, and we were a mad scramble to get Gob a flight home. And I think I got the last seat home because there were many that couldn't travel home till the Monday, the Tuesday, whatever it was, wasn't there?
There was a later one back into Birmingham, which was the flight that took me into East Mids. It went back to Amsterdam and then back again to take them into Birmingham, but it made my travel plans easier.
And it says, how many ETs should players at least qualify for in their first year?
It just says in a year. I don't know.
Well,
no set number. The more you qualify for, the better off you're going to be, because that first round prize money is better than anything else you get. The increases for every win on the Euro Tour is so much better. You get into the European Championships, that's prize money as well. I mean, we nearly see Placia do it last year without being a tour card holder, didn't we? Just from
associate member qualifier. So I think out of the 13, you should be aiming for at least 5.
Yeah.
I think with most players, the expectation would probably be higher than that. It'd just be the halfway, 6 or 7. Especially with how many qualify. Is it 24 per event? 24 per qualifier?
Yeah.
Still a large number of qualifications, that.
I'm not a fan of the way the Euro Tour qualifier works, but look, there's no other way of doing it. They have to get the numbers up. It's one of them, but yeah, massive strides for the UK Open prize money as well. Speaking of prize money, what needs to go up next in terms of prize money to get him to try and level it out a little bit? Because look, we all know, the World Championship should be the most money. No one's arguing that. But at the moment, the gap is so big, it just skews everything for 2 years.
My wages for this show.
How does that affect the world ranking?
Just cover it better, won't I? Even more top quality opinions from more.
Stupid.
I think it's Pro Tour. It has to be Pro Tour, and it has to be bottom end. I think the rest of the majors are all right. They do have significant movement on the Order of Merit. I don't think you'll get everything up to the level of the Worlds, and that quest to have that as £1 million is just it's admirable. I like it. The fact you can say your top tournament comes with prize money of £1 million, but the fact that it's so significant on the rankings is always going to be an issue. But it's just about making sure that you provide the best environment for all of these players to be professionals, because that's how your tour gets better. It has to be. Snooker's having a massive crisis at the minute, not only with the match fixing claims, but the fact that we are a couple of months away from the World Championship now in May, which is the end of the season for them. Yeah. And there's still something like 40% of the tour that haven't earned 20 grand this year.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
It's not a great look at all. And you have to be able to make sure that these guys can make a career out of this, because by doing so, you provide you provide the best environment for these guys to go out and compete week in, week out, which only makes your product stronger. I get the argument of you don't just want to give handouts and say, well done, you've made it as a Q school for a year. Now you don't have to do any work for 2 years because you're set with a minimum earning and that sort of thing. I get there has to be some sort of carrot and a stick, if you like. There has to be some sort of something for you to reach for, rather than just allow you to sit on your backside and think you've made it for 2 years. But it has to be at that bottom end. And then your feeder tours need to get better. Your challenge tours, your dev tour, etc., that are providing these players, if the long-term aim is to find a better way than Q School to give you your 128 tour card holders. I'm not saying never will, but if you're going to get to that conversation, then Challenge Tour definitely needs looking at.
Yeah, the Challenge Tour is the one that is well out of sync.
It is, but whilst the bottom end of the Pro Tour is the way it is, you physically cannot have players comfortably earning more money on your secondary tour than you would on your primary tour, and that would be a very real possibility. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if Scott Williams managed that last year.
I think he did.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, yeah.
Which should never happen. Don't get me wrong, Scott Williams was fantastic last year on the Challenge Tour. And obviously there are some Premier League earnings and everything else, Pro Tour earnings in there as well. But if you look at just his Challenge Tour earnings last year, I'm convinced that was more than some players' Pro Tour earnings. It was about 12 grand. And off memory, there were players that definitely struggled to make that last year on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I would assume that Scott Williams made more money than Glenn Durrant did on Pro Tour.
Yeah,
for example.
But again, that comes back to also what we were saying about there being more opportunities for people to make money from the sport away from the PDC if you're not at the elite level.
But that's an issue with the PDC at a wider level as well. Whilst they don't have any direct competition at the very, very top level, I think that allows them to sit on their hands a little bit for decision making, like the Premier League and whatever. There's no competition at the top end, so they can do what they want when they want, and they can see the effects of it over a longer time than anything else. The absence of a competitor means there is no desire for them to push on, apart from intrinsically or cash motivated. So that's an issue at that point. But allowing players to go elsewhere, they will get fed up with that as well. It might be the best thing, but you need somebody to come along as a strong competitor, and with potential cohesion with the ADC looking at UK Open in the future, that's the next organisation that you think, or World Championships at the end of that, or a Global Championship or whatever else, could rival a PDC. But unless you get something like Middle Eastern money suddenly deciding they want a live darts tour, I don't think we'll see anything like that.
I know you won't. And that's the issue, that the PDC know it as well. There is nothing to rival them.
Yeah.
And there won't be either.
No.
Because I think with the connections that Matchroom have with the Middle East, that if there were to be Saudi or Middle East oil money investment, it would go into the PDC anyway.
Yeah.
So I just think that the top end of the sport is what it is, and Barry's created it and they've got the monopoly over it, and that won't change. Also, this weekend, it's the return of the Women's Series, boys. Excited for this.
Yeah, interesting to see who enters. Do they all enter? I'm assuming everyone will. Start the season in theory.
I don't know of any big significant clashes.
Can we say start the season? I know it's first event of the year, but
it's weird, isn't it? Because that season basically runs match play to match play, yeah.
From a women's event, it's halfway into the year. From a qualification for the Grand Slam and the World Championship, it's to start the season, which is mental.
Which is weird, because you'd expect they want it to run in sync with everything else. I appreciate their match play was their first televised women's major.
Yeah.
But that will have to change very soon, and the way they do that needs some consideration, because it's another case of do something first and consider the ramifications of it later on.
I don't think it will change though, because of the because of the timings.
Unless they start running worlds to worlds, but if it's on a roll-in, then it makes no difference, I guess.
Yeah.
Blackpool's on a roll-in, isn't it, for the World Match Play? But
yeah. So at the moment, the race for the Women's World Match Play is as follows: Bo Greaves top, Mikuru Suzuki second, Lisa Ashton third, Eileen de Graaf, Katie Sheldon, Lorraine Winstanley, Fallon Sherrick, and Dieter Hedman in 8th spot right now. which is good. Just outside on count back, Yuki Sakaguchi, Priscilla Steenbergen, and then we've got Anka Zylstra, Stephanie Rennock, who again, in spells, produce some really good stuff, Gob.
Yes. And I think that's the key point, is that the women's series does continue to get better. We're attracting more players in that secondary and that third level now. Look, the top players at the moment are the top players. I think Eileen de Graaf is very, very close to breaking into that top three, if you like, that Fallon, Lisa and Bo trio that have been so good for a while. You look at the players just underneath that we've spoken about. Dita perhaps hasn't been as successful in the last 18 months as she was in the first year. Eileen's been in that group. Mikuru Suzuki's been in that group. Lorraine, etc. I think Eileen's approaching the moment where she makes a step and it becomes a big four, if you like. And she's so competitive within those, and it takes an awful lot for anybody else to defeat her beyond that. But there is a lot of players just below that now, bubbling along. The averages are starting to get better, more and more competitive. Look at Rhiannon Griffiths, Rhiannon O'Sullivan, Kirsty Hutchinson, Katie Sheldon, Robin Byrne. You can just keep listing names now that are interesting and exciting to watch in this women's series. And I think that's the best thing for the women's series right now.
Do you think Eileen de Graaf's breaking into that top four, Dob, or do you think she's replacing Lisa in the top three? Because Lisa's performance, put aside the seniors, because she was very good against Neil, but put that aside, before then, her form recently hasn't been to the same standard as what we saw with then Tortard and so. So do you think Eileen's replacing or joining?
But you just said put aside the seniors. Before the seniors, I would have said it might have been a straight swap. But given that, I had a quick conversation with her manager at the Circus Tavern as well. And last year didn't quite go to plan for Lisa, but they're back on track. She feels a lot better in herself, her practice game, and her ability. And I think we saw that against Neil on stage at the Tavern. And look, you can go through that first round, the World Senior Darts Championship, and there are a lot of players in that field that Lisa would have beaten first round.
Yeah, I think there is a big four, and I think Eileen is fifth, knocking on the door to make it a big five. I still think, personally, you've got Bo, Fallon, Lisa, and Mikuru as the four.
See, I appreciate that because of what we've seen from Mikuru on TV, but it hasn't quite clicked for her in the UK. Look, we've seen her make finals and that more and more so in the last year, and I believe travelling in the group that she has, bringing Yuki Sakaguchi, is it Kasumi Sato as well?
Yeah.
I think there might be one more in there that's travelled with Mikuru. That's been a benefit for Mikuru because travelling in that group, you can split costs for accommodation. I think it's allowed her to get into the country and get settled a lot earlier than perhaps we saw in that first year where she was flying in on the Thursday, playing on the Saturday, and you're like, you haven't slept enough. She was out on her feet by the end of Sunday, especially as that was when we were doubling up events. Is it just 2 events this weekend or is it 4 again?
No, it's 4 again.
4.
Still not convinced by that. It's a bit like the Challenge Tour for me. But yeah. And because that means I have to sit here for long.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a big 4, and Eileen is bordering making it a big 5, but I think she's just outside still at the moment.
Just looking at obviously other players, and you reeled off a list of names who are playing well. One that we haven't mentioned as much is the return of Anastasia. Do you think there's another one who I think certainly put herself in the mix for that 8? I'm not saying she's in the calibre of that top 4 or top 3, whatever we label it as now, but I think she's certainly one who is going to grow as the year goes on. Obviously now being back playing competitive darts.
Ability and reputation-wise, she's certainly got it. She's a little bit behind the 8 ball because of factors beyond her control. Opted to stay out of the limelight for a while, given the political landscape within the world at the moment, which, look, I don't disagree with at all. Possibly finds herself a little bit behind that, but we know what she's capable of. And if she does turn up and start producing, then yes, the issue might be for her that Blackpool might just come around that little bit too soon because she's already missed 8 events on the qualifier for this.
She is, but she's only £250 off of 8th at the moment.
Then she's fine. Yeah, if she was, I've not got the rankings up.
At the moment, she sits in 15th, but she's only £250 off of Dita in 8th.
then yeah, if she rocks up and starts playing the way that we know she can. If it was a bigger gap, then I'd be concerned because there is that rush then, and that every single event matters to her that little bit more than people that have money on the board. But the fact she is that close, we know how competitive she can be. Look, the draws are massive at these women's series, and I think there is definitely a conversation to be had. The issue is because of this Blackpool cycle and then the World Championships, it's when you bring this in. But at some point, this women's series has to look to be seeded.
I agree.
Have enough events now over a long enough period of time. You need some sort of protection in that draw. I think they've earned it now. That's the concept of anything. If you play over a long enough period of time, I believe that every draw should be seeded. Some events where the randomness and carnage is brilliant. The UK Open for one is mightily entertaining, but as a one-off, because you're not rewarding people that consistently perform to a high level.
I think that ranting should run from January. Yes, the match play is the pinnacle of the women's darts. However, if you ask the players, I'm guessing the qualification for the Worlds is still what they're looking for throughout the year. Yes, once you're in the match play to win it, but if you asked Fallon, would it be focusing on qualifying for the World Championships or match play? I think it'd be the World Championships.
I think she'd pick the World Championships all day long.
Yeah, and I don't think she's the only one. I've just used Fallon as a random name. I think that would fall in the majority of the women players. Not all, but the majority.
Out of the 8 that are there at the moment, it's a very strong 8. But does Anastasia make it stronger if she gets in there?
And how she's playing? I think form is a massive thing. That experience and TV experience, yes, is probably better than some of the players in that group. I'm just pulling it up now. I don't know why I don't have the order of merit up. Not that one.
Top 8 are, for people who haven't done it up like Dob, is Bo Greaves in 1, Maturu 2, Lisa 3, Eileen 4, Katie 5, Lorraine 6, Fallon 7, and Dita 8.
The only way you say yes, definitely, is if experience plays a massive part in Katie Sheldon's game. Because everybody else has been there and done that in enough BDO, WDF, Women's World Championships, and whatever else. They've been to the World Masters and they've been all over the world chasing ranking points in that system. They've all been there. They've all done that. Katie is probably the anomaly in there, but that youthfulness factor comes into play in that she literally fears no one.
I'm going to say she's fearless.
Yeah.
She gives not a crap for reputation at all.
Exactly. So at that point, does her fearlessness outweigh Anastasia's experience? And you look at other players out there, Priscilla Steenbergen's playing some great darts, Ryan O'Sullivan, Robin Bird. We're almost at a point where 8 is too few already.
I was about to say this. Are we actually bordering on a point now where the women's match play could be 16?
Yeah. I think we'll see that next year. I think we'll see the 8 again. We'll see if there's a growth in eyes on the product on TV in that session and ticket sales, because let's be honest, they weren't great last year.
Yeah.
And if there is that this year, I think there will be certainly a conversation to be had for either expanding the match play field or finding another event for the women's players.
There's an opportunity there to expand it. There's afternoon session available in theory on the Saturday, not just the Sunday of that weekend. So it could be extended across 2 days. I just looked at the field now, and I looked at that 8 currently, and 7 of those I expect to be there. There's only 1 I imagine to drop out of that. And the only reason I say that one is because that player's focus is normally somewhere else. And if it clashes with a WDF event, she tends to pick WDF in data, where the rest of them, that is a very, very strong 7 that I don't expect any of them to drop in their form. It'll take something very good from UT or a Robin or Rianne or Anastasia to go on and win or get to a couple of finals. But that then does open up the conversation of, do you extend the tournament to, would you automatically go to 16 or would you go to 12 and have a first round with the top 4 already through to the Sunday?
I don't like the concept of having 4 through to the next round in a system where nothing has been seeded or ranked previously.
I'm just thinking of steps instead of it going just as we double up from 8 to 16, and it's a possibility, isn't it? The seeding's right in the floor events first. That would then allow that to move to a 12, wouldn't it? But I still think we're a couple of years away from it being extended. We've only had 1 year. I know we're talking very highly about it and talking very highly about the Dane, but I still think we're probably a couple of years away before the field's extended.
Yeah. Right. Get your questions in then, everyone. We'll open up question time. As Anthony said, thoughts on Robin Bernaz. I think I like the look of her as a player. I just think she needs to play a little bit more. I don't think we see enough of her in potential other events.
Is that for our lack of looking, though? I don't think we can. We can say it, but I'm also at the same time a little bit weary of saying primarily the other opportunity to play women's darts is in the WDF, and I don't begrudge anybody not travelling.
Yeah.
But I think she's a fantastic talent who's got a lot of time ahead in the game as well. We're seeing it a little bit more and more now, and the youngsters are probably the ones to take a look at and watch, is that they're a little bit more like we see a traditional male player now. The action just seems that little bit more fluid. The mechanics of the throw seem that little bit more what you expect from a throw. And not all of them, but a lot of the younger players are now throwing straighter barrel darts. And what we tend to see from the women is that they throw barrels or torpedoes.
The John Lowe type darts. But
there are an awful lot of ladies at the top of the game that throw that style of barrel compared to the men's.
Steve, yes, we are still talking about women's darts because it is completely relevant. With the greatest of respect, if you don't like it, do one. This one. What do you think of the South African Darts Tour led by Devon Peterson? I haven't seen anything of it, so I don't really know. But
same.
Yeah.
I guess the more and more tours and nations and affiliations we have, the better for the game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like we got with the CDC, the DPA, the Asian Tour. If they can get something set up consistently working to feed the system, then yeah, completely all for it. I'm with Shawnee Mack on this one. I'd like to see the women's final before.
I wouldn't. I want the final to be the final, and it should be the showpiece. I get a bit like it when with football, when there's a top final, there shouldn't be any other game on that day other than that top final. Same applies to sort of darts. Yes, it doesn't work for some tournaments because you have your UK Open and then Players Championship where you have your semi-finals on the night and you can put something else then in between. But for something as iconic as the World Match Play, I think that should be its own on the evening. Should be just that final.
No, I'm fully on board with the women's final being the fact they went so heavy on making the women's World Match Play identical to the men's, to the point where the trophy was exactly the same and Fallon could barely lift it. They made such a point of mirroring everything. I think it should be 7 o'clock is the women's, 8:30, 8 o'clock is the men's.
Yeah, but then we don't get Mark Webster on screen for an hour and a half.
And last year we timed them much later as Webby was occupied after the final.
He's not doing the final this year. He's doing the night, but he's not doing the final.
I haven't seen the night.
Who had disappointed you most from Webster, Wilson, and Waite since winning their tour card back? I don't know.
because I didn't think Darren Webster was going to win his back, if I'm perfectly honest. That was a surprise that he actually won it back. Out of them all, I think Scott Waits is the better player. So
I think the one whose results I see less often are Darren Webster, which possibly means he's going out earlier. And that's where my answer would be. I know he struggled with injury a bit. He did a piece just before Christmas where he said he was looking forward to being back and giving it a proper go, etc. I think the player with the best ceiling is Scott Waits. Whether or not we see that frequently enough and whether that move to the PDC was too late for Scott Waits is an eternal conversation that will always go on. James Wilson can be ridiculously good, but he is a very, very streaky player. He puts together runs and then will disappear for a long, long time. And I'm not convinced by the action. The pause right in front of his face. The release just seems a little bit off sometimes. So, yeah, that's probably how I'd rank him. Webster, Wilson, and then Waits at the top.
Yeah, Darts All-Star game.
I think we see enough exhibitions now. Or there are opportunities for you to go and see exhibitions. Not quite as many different formats and prattling around, etc. But there's only so much of that is televisable.
To be fair, alcohol sponsorship doesn't really affect darts. So
bring back the Singer Beer Grand Slam.
Yeah.
Sing the beer and then Matthias Premier League.
I'd be more worried about Kazoo making it through the year.
Can we get Prime as a sponsor? We'll go and talk to KSI.
Oh, could you imagine?
All over it. If they can sponsor Arsenal and the UFC, they can sponsor a darts event.
Where was the one I saw?
There was talks about prefer a youth final to the women's final. There is no youth world match play.
No.
Baffled me a little bit.
Yeah. Will Barney qualify for the match play? I think he will. Especially the fact he's qualified, is it 3 of the first 4 Euro tours?
Yeah.
He's only a grand off at the moment. I think he will.
I think you need to put a Barney alarm in the back of this system, you moron. Yeah, I think he's there. Look, perhaps didn't make the splash that we expected when he went and got his tour card back, or maybe he did. Maybe that first Pro Tour win threw everybody off massively in regards of what we expected from Raymond van Barneveld. He got his card back and we're like, okay, will he do anything with it? Not really. Wins a Pro Tour, flatters to deceive a bit for the rest of the season. He's definitely looking for it. Look at him working away.
Try and find.
Shocking. Then didn't really deliver or qualify for anywhere near enough TV events. But this season and the back end of last season, to an extent, he looks so much sharper and better, and he just looks in better health. And I think that's helping him massively.
Yeah, I agree. I think he does it.
Do you think Ryan sold us?
Yeah.
Is Ryan Sell there?
Yeah.
It's there now. Keep that. Don't you dare delete it.
This one. Look, Bobby's not in a position to play anymore. He still as a laugh doing in exhibitions and stuff like that, but
he still can throw, but just not to the extent where you put him on stage for best of 5 legs or best of 3 legs or anything. Like, he can get up and do some magic number or what have you, but
yeah, I am with you there. I've enjoyed that. Yeah.
Hey, it's our alarm, James. We'll do what we bloody want with it.
Do you think we've had Connor qualify for the match play? Right now, I'd say no, but I haven't looked where he is. That's just what my gut.
Pro Tour Order of Merit.
It's just my gut.
4 grand clear.
To be fair, I didn't think he was that high, if I'm being honest. Yeah, now seeing that. Again, that's quite surprising because he's not one that you think of going deep into tournaments, is he? So he's just hoovering up.
There's still a lot of work to do. I know we're looking at it as someone being, 4 grand in front. There's still a lot to play for match play. An awful lot to play for.
Yeah, look, what's the projected cut-off for the match play? 32, 34,000?
Minimum. You think how many Euro Tours and whatever there are still?
No idea.
UK Open, and he'll win it, hopefully.
Rocket.
Doesn't play any Pro Tour event, doesn't play anything, turns up UK Open and wins it.
Doesn't play anything apart from a World Series event.
What happens if he's not at the UK Open?
I don't know.
Having a bye in the first round would suck.
Surely the protocol would be just to give it to the next Challenge Tour
from last year.
Surely we've had boys in the first round of the UK Open before.
I don't know.
We must have.
Can't remember. I don't remember yesterday. Anyone? Bueller?
Yeah, the honest answer is I don't know.
Gary Anderson qualifying opinion.
Or do you just do it that if he's not going to play, that someone gets a bye earlier on?
Well, he'd be in round 1 anyway, wouldn't he? Because he's not played anything, so he'd be straight in, wouldn't he?
Yeah, going back to 2021, there was a fair few boys in round 1.
The bottom 4 on the UK Open race are Goffin, Perez, Cadby, and Labra.
There has to be a doubt that Perez comes over as well in there, since he hasn't come over yet.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 97 to 128 enter in the first round. So I don't think that's changing for Cadby. Unless he's on the way to the UK. But at that point, surely run the risk to try and get in a weekend just before.
I get on really well with Matt. He gives us as a channel loads of time, so I get on really well with him.
That's not the question. What do the players think of Matt?
I don't know. Look, they've never really said about it. Look,
What does Just Incredible think of Matt?
Yeah, that's a.
It's great to have him back, isn't it?
But look, he's there to run a business. It is the thing. he's chief exec of a multi-million-pound business, and in the main gets it right. Yes, there's things we don't like, but
just thinking back, as we've mentioned there about the UK Open and boys in first round and stuff, and then prior to that we was talking about the women's. Do you think there's got to be a time where there's a certain amount of women in the UK Open draw?
I think that will come in next year.
The top 4, 8?
Top 4, I think.
Off what criteria, though? From January to January year rolling?
That would have to be off the normal order of merit that the Worlds and that are done. The fact that the Dev Tour get it, the Challenge Tour get it, I think it's a natural progression.
They both get 8, don't they? That's why. Would it be 8 for the women? And the only problem with that is it probably has an impact on the Riley's qualifiers or whatever qualifying route they're doing.
Yeah, possibly. Well, don't say that, Max.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Get out.
Well, I'm not going now. Barzy don't love me enough, folks, to take me along.
No, because you're streaming.
Streaming what?
Same as we did last year on the Friday for a multi-board.
News to me.
Hello there.
News to me.
Right, folks, that is us done and dusted. Been a joy to have you along for the last couple of hours. Pleasure to have Mason as well. Absolutely smashed it as always. Remember, the Super Series returns tomorrow morning for day 2 of Group A.
No. Right, Phil, what you need to do is advertise our stuff first. Thursday night, the Fallout Bar will be back because I'm back. Fallout Bar for the Premier League Thursday night, Saturday and Sunday. Women's Series streaming both days. Now you can talk about the Super Series.
I was doing it in chronological order.
Nah, shut up. Us. Online me. More me. That's what they're here for.
Oh,
more me. More me. And then we can talk about the likes of Yellow Klassen.
Luckily, there's more of Dob on the opening day of the UK Open. You can have him all day. Double session.
To be fair, there's a nasty rumour that it's going to be Jar and Dob together.
Dickhead.
So, look, everyone, thank you very much for your support. As always, if you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a like and subscribe. But that is us signing out for another week. The Live Lounge returns next week for episode 105. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Bye.